All right, so you've sent over some really interesting stuff on this whole Save the Cat thing, and
Yeah.
I gotta say, I'm pretty excited to dig into it. We've got the OG book for screenwriters, Save the Cat, the last book on screenwriting you'll ever need.
Right.
We've got the version for novelists, Save the Cat, writes a novel.
Yep.
And then just to like totally shake things up,
Yeah.
this studio binder analysis of Avengers, Infinity War,
Yeah.
using the Save the Cat beats.
Yeah. Thanos is the hero.
I know. Color me intrigued. So
It's always a fun one.
yeah, so like on the surface level, right? 15 beats, always in the same order. Does that really work? Can you really capture like the magic of a good story? Or does it just end up being like every story feels kind of the same?
Well, yeah. And I think that's the thing that a lot of writers struggle with, right? Because on the one hand,
Yeah.
especially for newer writers,
Mm-hmm.
Save the Cat is so appealing because it's a roadmap, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I know if I hit these things, I'm at least in the ballpark.
Yeah. You have that like sense of security.
I'm
Like,
not-
I'm building a house.
Mhm.
I've got a blueprint. It's all going to work out.
Yeah.
But then it's like,
But then you're stuck with cookie cutter houses.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, are you just going to keep churning out the same
Right.
predictable?
Yeah, it's like learning to cook from a recipe book
Okay.
versus actually understanding what the ingredients are doing.
Yeah. How to make your own recipe.
Exactly.
So how do you bridge that gap then? How do you take this framework and use it as a tool
right.
to understand stories, not just like paint by numbers?
Well, it's interesting, right? Because it all comes back down to cause and effect. And each of those beats
Okay.
is in a strategic place to create a certain emotional response
Yeah.
from the audience. So, when you think about, say, fun and games, for example,
Mhm.
it's not just about having fun,
Right.
although that's part of it.
Of course.
It's really about, like, giving the audience a chance to breathe.
That's
Like,
that.
we've introduced this world.
Yeah.
Let's have a little fun in it
Yeah.
before things ramp up again.
Before everything goes crazy, because then you hit that midpoint.
Exactly.
And then boom,
And then you're like, all right,
the stakes go through the roof.
no, turning back now. Exactly. And even the midpoint itself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Can be expressed in a lot of different ways.
Oh, totally.
Sometimes it's a false victory.
Oh, yeah.
You think you've won, but really it's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning of the real act.
Exactly. Or it's a devastating defeat that causes you to reevaluate.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah.
Like when you think you're watching one movie and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden
It turns out you're watching a completely different one.
it becomes something totally different. And it's not even just like the plot twists and stuff. It's like
Right.
the whole theme,
Yeah.
like what you thought the movie was about is
It
different.
completely changes. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got these 15 beats and we're starting to see how they're more than
Cool.
just a
Yeah.
checklist.
Yeah.
But Snyder also talks about these story types.
Yeah.
He does. Why, Gina? Dude with the problem. Monster in the house.
He does.
Is that just like him being cute with names? Or is there like a purpose?
No, there's a purpose to it.
Okay.
They serve a purpose because it forces you to think beyond just the surface level.
Okay.
What's the core transformation that needs to happen?
Okay, so it's more about the theme, less about the plot.
Exactly.
Okay, and this is where I think the Infinity War thing gets really interesting.
It is.
Because they use Thanos
Yeah.
as the hero.
As the hero of his own story.
Okay, I will admit,
Right.
that one threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
How can the villain be the hero? You know?
That's not
like,
a-
I
yeah.
get it, he's the hero of his own story.
Right.
But, like, how do you...
But we can still empathize with him.
Okay.
We can still understand his motivations. We can understand where he's coming from.
So it's like giving the audience a glimpse into the mind
Exactly.
of someone who, on the surface, is just pure evil.
Right. And it makes him a richer, more three-dimensional
It
character.
makes it more interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that everybody has a story,
That's true.
even the villain.
Yeah,
No.
okay. That's a good point.
So,
That's really interesting. So
Yeah.
we're starting to see how this structure
Yeah.
can be more nuanced
absolutely.
than it seems at first glance.
Absolutely.
It's not just like,
It's more than just a checklist.
yeah, it's more than just a checklist. It's
Yeah.
like you're saying, it's about understanding.
It's about understanding
What makes a story really tick?
the emotion,
Yeah.
the emotion behind it.
Right. Okay, so let's actually dive into some of those beats.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's actually dive into some of these beats then. What are they and how do they actually work?
So, like every good story, it all starts at the beginning
With the opening image.
with the opening image exactly.
Which is
What the
like,
audience sees first.
literally the first thing they see.
The first thing they see.
Okay.
And it sets the tone.
Yeah.
It introduces us to that story's world.
Okay, so like that classic image of Dorothy standing on the farm in Kansas right before everything goes to Technicolor.
Exactly. And we instantly know something about Dorothy.
Okay.
She's bored.
Yeah.
She wants more out of life.
And then boom.
And then
themes stated, which is like a pretty subtle hint.
They can be.
What the story is really about.
Yeah.
The deeper meaning.
The hero hasn't quite figured out yet.
Which, of course, they completely ignore at first.
Of course.
Because then you've got the catalyst.
Yeah, the catalyst.
Which is that big inciting incident.
Exactly.
That throws their world upside down.
Yeah.
No more Kansas.
No more Kansas.
Dorothy.
Exactly.
And this is interesting because...
And it can be anything, right?
Like it can be.
It could be a death.
A betrayal.
A betrayal.
Literally anything.
But it has to be big.
It has to knock them off their feet.
It's got to be big enough to push them out of their ordinary world.
Force them to go on an adventure.
Yes.
But then...
And that's where the debate comes in.
Right. That should I stay or should I go moment.
Yeah. Should I stay comfortable and safe?
Or risk it all.
Exactly.
And it's so relatable.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone's been there.
Yeah. We've all been there.
Do I cling to what I know? Or do I...
Do you take that leap of faith?
Do I take that leap of faith?
Yeah.
And in a good story, they always...
They take the leap.
They risk it all. That's the break into two.
That's the break into two. They're committed.
There's no going back.
No going back now.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, okay.
And the real fun starts.
Now we're off on an adventure. And this is where I think people get a little confused.
Sometimes.
Because they hear fun and games.
Right. It's not always...
And they think it's like...
car chases and explosions.
Yeah, like James Bond.
Although it could be.
Right. But it's more about...
It's more about...
exploring this new world.
Exploring, yeah, meeting the new characters.
Where rules are different. Exactly.
Maybe there's some smaller challenges.
Right, yeah.
You got to learn as you go.
It's like the training phase.
Right. You can't just have them facing off against Voldemort.
Yeah, you can't just throw them in the deep end.
Right. They destroyed.
Exactly. They need to build up to that.
And I think that's something that Snyder really understands.
He does. It's all about pacing.
It's all about the pacing.
Got to earn those big moments.
You can't just rush to the climax.
No.
You got to let those stakes build gradually.
And then
midpoint
hits.
Boom. And everything changes.
The game changes completely.
Right. It's like you think you're watching one movie.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden,
bam, different movie.
It's something totally different.
Yeah.
And it's not even just like
the plot or whatever. It's like the hero themselves.
Exactly. They're being tested.
They're growing.
They're learning.
And what they learned here.
Right here at the midpoint.
Is going to determine everything that comes next.
Whether they sink or swim.
Exactly.
And just when they're starting to get their footing.
Oh.
The bad guys close in.
Here they come.
Right.
That antagonist.
Who's probably been lurking in the shadows.
Maybe we've even forgotten about them a little bit.
Maybe.
But they haven't forgotten.
No, they haven't.
About our hero.
They've been waiting for their moment.
And this is where it gets really real.
The stakes are higher than ever.
Because for a lot of heroes, this is it.
What's this?
This is the all is lost moment.
Oh, yeah.
Right. They're at their lowest point.
This is where the doubt creeps in.
That's that dark night of the soul.
Yeah, are they going to give up?
Are they going to let the darkness win?
Exactly.
But it's also...
the turning point.
It's the turning point because you have to go through that darkness.
Okay.
To find the light.
To rise above.
To come out stronger on the other side.
So how do they do it? How do they come back from that?
That is the break into 3, my friend.
Okay.
That's where the hero, with a little help from their friends.
Right. Their mentors, their allies.
Exactly. They come up with a new plan.
A new perspective.
They've learned from their mistakes.
They've embraced their flaws.
They're ready for anything.
They're ready for that final showdown.
Yeah.
And that's what brings us to the finale, right? Where everything comes together.
It all leads up to this.
All those dominoes finally fall.
And Snyder actually breaks the finale down even more.
He does.
But I feel like the heart of it is that final battle.
The final confrontation.
The moment of truth.
Right. It's where the hero gets to put everything they've learned to the test.
But it's not just about defeating the bad guy.
No, it's bigger than that.
It's about whether they've actually changed.
Right. Have they actually learned from their mistakes?
Are they a different person?
Because you can win the battle and still lose yourself.
Oh, that's deep. Yeah, because then it's what's the point?
Exactly.
If you haven't actually grown as a person.
Right.
And that, I think, brings us to the final image.
Yeah, the last thing the audience sees.
That closing shot, that final beat.
And it should mirror that opening image.
Oh, yeah. Show how much has changed.
Exactly. It's about giving the audience that feeling of completion.
Okay.
Like we've gone on a journey.
We've come full circle.
And the world is forever changed.
I'm thinking about The Matrix.
Oh, yeah.
That final scene where Neo flies off into the sky.
He finally embraces his true power.
Right. And it's like a callback to that earlier scene.
Where he jumps off the building.
Yeah, and he's not sure if he can fly.
Full of doubt.
But this time it's different.
This time he knows.
No hesitation. He's just gone.
It's beautiful.
And I feel like that's the power of this structure, right?
Totally.
Even when you don't notice it.
Even if you can't point to every single beat.
It's working on you.
It's all about creating that emotional journey.
It's like a magic trick. You don't see the strings.
But you're still amazed.
But you're still blown away.
Exactly.
And what's really cool is that this stuff doesn't just apply to movies and books.
Oh, no, not at all.
It's like...
life.
Yeah.
Think about it. A good speech.
Okay.
A persuasive argument.
They all follow a structure.
They do.
You introduce the problem.
Build the tension.
Present the solution.
And leave them wanting more.
It's all storytelling.
It is.
And when you understand how it works...
it changes everything.
It really does. You become a better communicator, a better leader.
A better storyteller.
Maybe even just a better person.
Maybe so.
Wow. This whole deep dive has been amazing.
Glad you enjoyed it.
It's really got me thinking about stories in a whole new way.
That's the goal.
Both the ones I'm taking in
Yeah.
and the ones I want to put out into the world.
There you go.
So what's the big takeaway then?
Don't get too caught up in the numbers.
Not just memorizing the 15 beats.
Exactly.
But understanding why they work.
It's about the emotion.
The heart of the story.
That's what resonates with people.
And who knows, maybe someday.
What's that?
Maybe someday I'll write the next Save the Cat.
I like the way you think.
But for now, I think I'll settle for saving a cat in real life.
Can't go wrong with that.
They're pretty good at showing us how a well-structured story
Yeah.
can lead to a very happy ending.
I'd say so.
All right, well, this has been awesome. Thanks for joining me.
Anytime.